Yes, so I started the recording, and yeah, so this is the fresh code base, and I'll just start working on the project that I've just mentioned, FreshCart. It is like an online grocery store. It will be a very minimal store with the tech stack of Flask, SQLAlchemy plus SQLite for the database, Jinja 2 for the server rendered HTML, and a little of JavaScript for the search filter. So that's it. There are no REST APIs here that will be covered in MAD-2. So I'll first, I think what we'll do is we'll first start with the code structure, and then we can, start with this. So, as you know, like there will be a base file called as app.py, and this is where the complete project would start running from. You can also start working on this simultaneously, and you can start building this project alongside me.
Yes, sir.
Yes, do interrupt me if you have any questions. You can do so at the end of the session or as well as in the middle. So yes,
Okay.
right. So you have a base app.py which will be the core running point of our application. You will also need a requirements.txt which will contain all the packages that are required for the installation purpose as well as for running it. Then there is something that is a static folder where you can store all the assets of your project. You can store the CSS files, you can store any images and everything. So you can store all of that inside of the static folder. And following the static folder, you'll also need a templates folder. So templates would be in the root folder again. So templates would contain all the different HTML files that you require during the running of the application. So all these four are the different file requirements that are there. In the static, I would also suggest you to create style.css. I would also suggest the styles.css is like the style sheet, the CSS style sheet. You can also store any kind of JavaScript files you have and any other kind of images, logos, and assets here. So this is where your complete static assets would go. And this is the templates. Now let me create a file called as home.html, which I will be rendering inside of app.py in the first few lectures. We can proceed to add some more templates as this series goes on, and at the end of it, you'll have all these static and templates filled with the necessary file.
Ma'am, images will be stored in static or temp.
Images will be stored in the static folder. Right. So this is the core structure. Let me know if you have any doubts. So this is what we'll be working on for the first few sessions. We'll also have database and everything coming up. So I think that can add more files to this. So this is the basic structure I'll be starting with. Now let me start by showing you how we can create a virtual environment. So that is a very important part of this. So what you can do is you can run this command alongside me, Python dash m virtual environment, and you can name the virtual environment something. I'm naming it again venv. So this is the command, and this is the name of the virtual environment you'll be creating. So once you run this, it will take the Python version that you have downloaded, and it will create a virtual environment with that version. So it will take some time. Yes. Meanwhile, I can also, I can give you some stats. So this home.html is something that will be returned by the slash root. So whenever you visit your application, if you have localhost 3000 running and you go to uh, the slash root, you'll end up in the home.html page. So that is a speciality of home.html. And yeah, so I think the virtual environment is created. You can see the folder here. And now you can start, you can first activate this environment by running source venv slash venv/bin slash activate. Okay, I think this should be run in git bash, or for PowerShell, I think you can use
Actually, I used Bash.
Okay, using Bash. I think this thing works in Bash. You can use Git Bash and you can use it there. I was assuming you're using a PowerShell term. Yes, right. Uh, just a second. I think let me move back to the PowerShell. You can actually use this thing dot slash venv slash source slash activate. This is sorry dot slash venv slash scripts slash activate. Yeah. So this should activate the virtual environment for you in the PowerShell. For Git Bash, I think you can directly use the source command here. Yes, I think you can use the same source command. Source. Yeah, so this would activate the virtual environment for you. You need not mention the complete path. You can just mention slash venv slash scripts slash activate. So I'll continue using the PowerShell for now. And yeah, so following this, you can install the two requirements, pip install. So the basic requirements are Flask and Flask-SQLAlchemy. So I'll install both of them, Flask and Flask-SQLAlchemy. I hope you're doing this alongside me.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So these will first install these requirements, I mean these packages inside of our virtual environment. And after this, we can freeze these requirements and store it inside of our requirements.txt. So we can continue to do this as and when we add more packages. So we need not maintain our requirements.txt separately. You can directly push it at the end of each download. So make sure that you download all these requirements inside of your virtual environment, because if you download outside it, you might actually change the versions of your global packages, and that would be something that would change the working conditions of the other projects that you might have on the system. So always activate the virtual environment first, create it first, activate, and then you can install anything. You can also, yeah, after the installation is complete, you can freeze these requirements. You can run pip freeze, and then this is the arrow mark that is required, and then this stores it inside of requirements.txt. So this is used for that. So if you now open your requirements.txt, I think you'll have all these things here. So yeah, so this command, running this command automatically updates your requirements.txt. Now let me start by running python app.py so that we have our server running. Just a second. Yeah. So yeah, so this is something that will run once we write, once we initialize our app.py. So here in the app.py, I would first start by importing the two requirements that I just downloaded. So from Flask, import Flask. Okay. So yeah, let me first import Flask, and then in case you see this yellow line and then you want to resolve this issue, you can go to Python's select interpreter, click on enter, and then you can select the recently created virtual environment, and then yeah, that would go. That would go automatically. In case it doesn't go, then this is how you fix that. So now you initialize the app. I think this is something that you might have, learned in your course. So app is equals to flask underscore name. So this is something where you initialize the app object. Now let me write the first route that we'll be using, the slash route. So as I mentioned before, the slash route is something that would redirect us to the home.html. So here we define the home. This is the home function where we can return. So what we want to do is we want to return this template, this home.html. So for this, you will also need to import a render template. Render template renders these templates actually. So you can remember it that way. Render template renders the templates inside of this folder. So here you can return render template home.html. I think this is the only route we'll be using for now. You can also, initialize. So you can also use this thing if name is equals to main and then app.run. So this is something again would be covered in your coursework. So app.run debug is equals to true gives us all the debug logs inside of our terminal. So yeah, so this would actually take us to the home.html page whenever we land on the slash route. Now let me write something into my HTML file so that I can see it whenever I go there. So I think this is okay. This is a useful command. You just go to your home.html page. You can just use an exclamation mark and press enter, and you'll get the complete template ready. So this can be a useful thing at times. So here, let me give the title as FreshCart. That would be the name of our application. You can also change the title, but then that's again on you. Yes. So inside of the body, yeah, you can use any header tags, any p tags, and then give some kind of content like welcome to FreshCart, your one-stop shop for fresh groceries. I think this is, if you want to change it, you can also change that. You can say something like your neighborhood grocery store online. Yeah, I've just given some random p tag. So yeah, this is something that you can mention here, and yeah, I think this essentially renders this page. So app.py renders the home.html page whenever we hit the slash route. So now let me start by running our application python app.py, and it starts serving on the route 5000. So if you can click on this and follow the link, it must open inside of your VS Code. You can also go to a yeah, you can also go back and then run it on yeah, you can also run it over here. Sorry, it's localhost 5000. Yeah, you can also see it here, but I think it is more convenient if you have it inside of our VS Code. So after this, you can go back. So now I'll also cover today's topics, which is database setup and basic HTML. So what we have done right now is we have just gone through the structure and created a home.html page. We have also gone through how to create and handle all the packages, the requirements.txt file. Now, at this point, I would want to stop and then want to know if you have any questions, anything you have not been able to replicate on your system,
No, no, I actually completed
everything.
this home.html. Yes,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, I assume like this is the easiest part of this complete project. I think now we can start with the database setup and basic HTML, and we can end with the second module. If wanted, we can also start with the third module if time permits. But yeah, I think we can start with the second module and complete it within the scope of this session.
yes.
Yes. So now the
Can we just change the port of localhost?
changing the port of the local host. Yeah, you can actually. I think there is a command. Yeah, I think if I just stop running this, and I think of Python files, you can also have like a environment file where you can store your port. Or I'll just check it once.
Yes, and we have to create some env file.
Yeah, we have to create some env file and we have to store it there. So env again, you can create it inside of your root directory, and here you can store with something like port is equals to 8080. Currently it is 5000. You can also use 8080. Or else there's an easier way to do that. You can directly use that here. You can give a comma, port is equals to 8080 or something. I think this is a better version because you need not create any additional files. You can actually mention it over here. Save it. I would recommend you to open the auto save option in VS Code because that way, even if you disconnect or don't save it accidentally, you can have the complete code there. And now if you start running, you have it running on 8080. So that is how you can change the port. You can also change it directly in the uh, app.run command. Yes. So coming back,
Okay.
yeah, yes. So coming back to the database setup and basic HTML, you first have to define the data model. You have to let SQLAlchemy, which we have just installed, create the SQLite file. And you have to introduce Jinja template inheritance with a base HTML. So these are the three things that we'll cover now. So for this, I'll just want you to change the structure a bit. What you have to do is you also have to add another file called as models.py. This would store the model schema, the database model schema for us. You will also need to create an instance folder. I think that would automatically be created once you once you run the command. So I think inside the templates you'll also have to create another file called as base.html. This is something where we'll go from. So base.html is something where you can where I'll demonstrate how we can use Jinja templates. So let me first start with models.py and help you understand how we can write database schemas here. So here, the requirements may you have already downloaded the Flask-SQLAlchemy. You can import it here. So Flask-SQLAlchemy, from Flask-SQLAlchemy, you have to import SQLAlchemy. So this is how you'll import the package that you have just downloaded. Now we'll initialize the database object with db is equals to SQLAlchemy. So once the DB object is initialized, you can start writing these database tables. So tables are a form of class because we are trying to use object oriented programming. We'll convert these database tables into classes and these database columns into attributes. So that is something that we'll do using SQLAlchemy. Let me start by creating a basic class user, and you'll have to have db.model inside of the parameters. So here I think there are some auto suggestions that are coming directly, but then again I'll write it for you. ID is equals to db.column. So we are creating the first column ID, then we are mentioning the data type, which is integer, and we are also saying that it is like a primary key. A primary key is something which uniquely identifies a table. So that is ID. You can also mention a username. Username is another column of data type string. I'll give a limit of say 80, and then I'll also mention that the username must be true. You have seen in many apps you have the username which must be unique, and that is required. You must also be able to have it all the time. So you need to mention nullable is false. It must be there. If it is not, then you must throw an error. So that is what is meant by this. Nullable is equals to false.
I have a doubt.
Yeah.
Is ID auto increment?
Yes, ID
It is
auto
like
increments. The primary key always auto increments.
okay.
Right. Next, we have the third column, which is password. You again have it in the form of a string. Let me increase the size of the password to 200. You can do that. You can also mention the password to be required at all times. Nullable is false. You also have another check. This is like a Boolean column that I'm creating for variability in the data types. You can have this column db.boolean, and you need not have a default. So you can have a default value like false. So I'm mentioning is admin is false all the time unless specified otherwise. So this is the first table that we have mentioned. So let me create two more tables so that we can have better understanding. Let me create another table like section. So let me tell you, section is you have the grocery section, you have the baby product section. So section is something that stores all these products within it. So section is what we are going to decide now. So section is again going to have an ID, db.column. It is again a integer type with primary keys true because it's going to be the primary key for the table. Okay, next we can have a name column, the name of the section, say grocery or something. So again, it will be a string and it should not be null. You must also have a description for this. So if you have grocery, you must have a description saying what comes under grocery. You have db.string 200. Okay. So let me create another column, say product. So this I'll come to later. Yeah, I'll just create another table called as product. So products are something that go inside of a section. So in the product, again, you'll have name. So, okay, before that, you have the ID, which would be of type integer. And it will be again the primary key. Okay. You also have the name, which will be of type string. And then it cannot be null actually. The product must have a name. The product must have a price. It must have a price. It can be of so this is where we are using a new data type float because price can be a decimal as well. A unit is again something where you can have yes. So we have ID, name, price, and then not unit. You can have a stock. How much we have it inside. So you have the stock. So we have db.column, db.integer, nullable is false. Yeah, stock can be null at times. So you can have db.integer. You can have a default stock value of 0 that you can do. I think nullable and unique is not required here. Unique cannot be given to a stock, but nullable is not required here. Then you can also have, so now we want to connect these two tables. So before trying to connect the two tables, you can also, so you have the price, right? You can also have a unit to the price. Unit is something like you have, so you have rupees, you have dollars. So you need to have, so you have 100 rupees. 100 rupees is different than $100. You can have that, and that way you can also mention a unit column. I'll just see if it is required.
Default equal to 0 and nullable is false. Both are same. No?
Right, nullable is false. So there is a slight difference. Nullable is false does not allow us to, leave it empty whenever we are initializing that row. So, but default is equals to 0 also does that in a way, but then it also initializes it to 0 if in case we are not, giving any value to it when we initialize the row. So there is a slight difference because here if you don't give the price for a row, you throw an error. Here if you don't give the stock for a row, you don't throw an error, but you automatically take the value to be 0.
Okay.
So that is the basic difference. I hope you're clear with the remaining. I mean, I hope you're clear with unique, nullable, and
Yes, for me,
yes.
it's clear.
If you so you can also yeah. If you have any questions, you can come back. Yeah. So here I was thinking we can also add another column. So say we have the price, but you would also need, so for different products, say you have apples. Apples would be measured in kgs. Milk would be measured in liters, and eggs would be measured in dozens. So you can also have a units column. So this is how you must think when you decide for each column, because you might want to include all the different columns inside of a table before you start working on your project. Yeah, so again, I have also included the column unit, and I think, yeah, this is not required. You can have it restricted to 20. Unit is not going to be long anyways. Yeah, so now what we want to do is connect the section and products. So that is important because as I've mentioned, section is the parent and products is something which comes inside of a section. Okay. So every product, so one section can have many products. Okay. But each product must belong to a single section. So that is the relationship that we can define. This is a logical relationship. And there is also another thing that you have to mention, that whenever you delete a particular section, you have to delete all the different products within that section. So this is another constraint. So looking at that, let me write the products. So what are the products? Products is again a column inside a section. It is like a relationship. So this is like a relationship, and where you have a single product can belong to only one section, and a single section can have multiple products. So it's like many is to one or one is to many relationship. So this relationship is with the products table. So you're defining a new relationship with the products table. You have a backref, you can say section. So whenever you are in a product, if you want to back reference to this table, you can mention products dot section, and that would give you the section of that particular product. And you also have something like cascade. So this is something, I think this must be new, but this is required. You must try to use it often, because uh, cascade, whenever you delete it, what happens? The particular section gets deleted, but then we'll have orphan products which do not have a section connected to it. We don't want that to happen. So you have cascade all comma delete. So what this particular thing does is, whenever you delete a particular section, it deletes all the products. So that is required, because that prevents you from writing unnecessary code again and again. And then again, lazy is equals to true.
But we shouldn't add this cascade equal to all delete in product section. Sorry, in product.
Yeah, we need not add it again in the product section. You can add it once to the section table. And whenever you delete a particular section, you want to delete all the products. It must not be other way around, because when you delete a particular product, you must not delete the section, because it might contain other products as well, right? And
Yes.
lazy is equals to true is for lazy loading. So you need not load all the sections at a time. You can lazy load them. Now let me mention it over here as well. So here you have the section ID. Let me define the column name as section ID. And this is again a db dot column. So this is a one-way relationship, many to one relationship. So here you have like a db column. And here you'll mention the foreign key. So I'll just explain what is foreign key and everything here. So here the section ID must be an integer. So that would be the data type, and it should be a foreign key to section.id. So foreign key is something which connects to different tables. So here the data type is db.integer, and it is holding a foreign key. So now the foreign key, it's not section ID, but we are taking the name of the table section, and then the ID, which is the unique identifier of the other table. That is ID, section dot ID, okay? And then you close this. So you have mentioned the foreign key. This is the foreign key relationship. And then you have, again, nullable is equals to false, because every product must have a section. Otherwise, it should not be defined. So that is what we want here. And so this is the complete schema where you are connecting the products and the section. And we can also look into different relationships. This is a simple relationship for now. We can also mention more tables and have more relationships in the next classes. So yeah, please let me know if you have any questions. I'll move to the main file, the app.py file after this.
No questions.
Yeah. So yeah, let us come back to the app.py file. Now that I have, have added the models, let me also include them in the base file. So from models, what you've just defined, I want to import db, the db object. I want to import the section. So section is like a table under models. So I am importing these two for now. We can also add others as and when we require. So here, yeah, let me ignore that here. So below the app object, let me add the app config. So here you can have SQLAlchemy. So this is something again must be covered in your coursework. You can name the SQLite store as FreshCart.db, because that's the name of our project. You can also add another config. So this is the secret key. This must also be covered. Then you can have FreshCart secret for now. This can be any random identifier. So I'm using FreshCart secret. And then I am initializing the DP with the app. So db init app. So I'm passing the app object here. So now let me stop the server and come back here. Before running, I'll also want to change here. So render template is there, but then yeah, so what I would want to do is the reason for mentioning only the section table here is because I would want to pass all the sections into my home HTML file. And because I want to pass all of them there, I am mentioning the table here. And before returning the home template, I would want to query all the sections and then pass them to the render template. I'll show you how we can do that. Section.query.all will fetch all the queries. It will fetch all the sections within the sections table. And here you can pass it. Sections is equal to sections. So inside of home.html, you can refer to sections and you get all the sections that are queried. So now here, before running the app, you will also have to build the FreshCart DB. So to build it for the first time, you can use with app.app context db.create all. This creates all the three tables that we have just mentioned. So this can act as your builder, and this will create or initialize the database with instance/freshcart db. So instance folder will get the freshcart db database. So now let me also update the base HTML. So before that, if I just run python app.py, you can look at so you can look at the db instance that was created, and you can also see all the different folders here. So I think I installed a specific extension that allows me to view the SQLite database in this way. You can also check the SQLite extension from VS Code and install the same. Yes. So now let me come back to the base HTML where I have already where I have already passed all the sections. So now before that, let me go to base.html and I'll show how Jinja works here. Jinja will act like a base template for all our files. So let me initialize the document. Let me give the document a title, but then again you have to cover it inside of Jinja tags. So here you can write something like block title end block. So this is how a Jinja template would look like: block title and end block. And inside of it, you can write FreshCart, which will be our title. Inside the body, you can have the nav bar, which will be common. So here in the T-base template, you must have the nav bar, the footer, and everything. So for now, I'll just use the nav bar to show like an example. And the nav bar can have an attribute class, which is nav bar. This can be helpful when we mention, the CSS template. Here you have the A tag. And for the A tag, I would also want to give a href. Href is the URL for home. So this is something that you can use. URL for, and then you can give the name of so this home comes from here. So instead of mentioning a separate route, you can just give URL for home and it points to the home template. And on the navbar, you can mention, so other than this, you can also give some class, which is, say, brand. Okay. So, yeah, just a second. I must have wanted to close this here. Yeah. Yes. So here you have the URL for home, you have the classes brand. This will again be used when we write our styles. And the name is FreshCart. Now let me go down and have the main container. Inside of the main container, you have something like class is equals to container. Again, for the CSS styles, I'm mentioning all the classes. And inside the main container, you have the block content end block. So this would contain so this is like a template and this would contain the content for each file. So home.html would go here. The contents of home.html would start here. and this is rendered from here to here, will be rendered for all the different files that we create. So this will be like a template, and this would be the changeable code that we are going to write in each of the files. So as we are going to use this base template, I'll just remove everything here. And starting from the home.html, I'll try to use the base template by using this extends base.html. So let me mention base.html in quotes. All right. So the block title here. So the block title here was FreshCart, but in case we want to change it, you can use block title home dash FreshCart. So you can change this to dash or like this. So now the title would be home slash FreshCart, and that would be visible inside of your nav bar. So here, this is where the title would go. So this is something that we are trying to change here. Now inside the block content, yeah, whenever I start a block, I would also recommend you to have end block here. So inside the block content, I would want to have h1 tag with some. So here I'm just writing a basic HTML file. I'll just try to make the home page something better. So what we are trying to do is the home page is having access to all the different sections. So I'll mention all these sections here. Let me say browse our aisles. These aisles are for our grocery store. Then the sections that I've gotten from before for section in sections. Okay, for section in sections is like a for loop. I will also end for not forgetting it. Yes. Now inside this for loop, I would want you to have the h2 tag with the section name. You can verify this from the models file where you have section.name. And I would also want to have the section description. Let us have these two things. Yes, let us have these two things. And at the end, if we don't have any section, so you have sections. Otherwise, if you don't have the sections, you can have an else block where you can also mention no sections available at the time or something. Yeah, no sections available at the moment. I think it is appearing here twice. Yeah. So block content, you are ending the block, you have the h1 tag, you have the for loop. In case the for loop returns no values, you have the else loop, else block where you have a p tag, and you end the for. So yes, so this is something that you can use as a basic Jinja template. Yes, so now let me go back and so you must know how extends work here. Extends will use the basic template, and then you must also know URL for. So instead of using a hard coded path, you are using URL for home. So instead of using a hard coded path to home.html, you're using URL for. You must also understand if yeah, you already understand how for loop and else works.
Yes, sir.
Yes, right.
Can you show this app.py file?
Yeah.
I mean, the end after main, why we are writing below please? With
After
app.
main with app.app context. Yes,
Yes,
this is for a one-time initialization of the file. So I think you have missed this. Like when I first, so let me uh, show what this is used for. Let me delete the instance. So with app.app context, db.createAll, just a second. I think this is still open. Yes, in case it's still open, it gives that kind of an error. Yes. So what's the use of this code? Is when you run python app.py, it initializes the instance for us. So this is like for a one-time initialization. Uh, did you get
okay.
it?
Yes,
Yes. So now let me first, yeah, let me also teach you version control. So that is more important. So what you want to do is here, I think this is something that comes on a later stage. But anyways, we can push the app file to the first, or I should have actually started with version control at the end of the first section. Yeah, so let me just uh, you can ignore this for now. I just want to maintain a clean repository for you, and I think I can use. Yeah, I think I have to just initialize this. Right. This is purely for version control, so you can ignore this part. I must have started it at the end of. So this was what we were using. I think it was your neighboring grocery store. Yeah. So for working on version control, what you can do is, so the files that you need. So first you can initialize Git for your repository with Git in it. Once you have initialized an empty repository, you can see everything marked in green and everything is untracked. U stands for untracked. So then you want to add specific files to Git tracking. So I would want to add. So before that, I would also want to add a .git ignore file. Here you can mention PyCache and other irrelevant folders that you would not want to, have it under Git tracking. Yes. I think instance can also go for now. Yes, instance can be there in our repository. And venv. These two things are required inside of a git ignore. Git ignore, whatever you files you have, that will be ignored by the git tracking. So git add dot git ignore would add this, and it would, once you add git ignore, it would remove PyCache and venv from from the git tracking. So you don't see a green sign over there now. Now you can add the remaining git add. Okay, for the first phase, I would add the static folder. I would want to add templates and home file. Yeah. No, I think it goes with this. Oh, wait. Yeah, git add. Yeah, so I have added this file, and I think I also need to add app.py and requirements.txt. So yeah, these are the only files that I need to add. Now let me create a new branch. So Git branches are, something that you can use for differentiating, and then I'll be creating a new branch for each session. So for this, I would use Git branch, and then give a branch name. So let me name the branch session 1. Wait, Git branch dash B, I guess, or Git checkout dash B would also work. Yes. So you can enter Git status and then see what is the status of your commits. I'm on branch session 1. There are no commits yet. These are the changes that are to be committed. because they are added to the tracking. So git add adds them to tracking, so their index is added. Let me let me commit it. Git commit app initialization. So okay, initialization. Yeah. So I've committed it, and let me now push it. So before pushing, you must go to GitHub, create your own repository. You can give a repository name. You need not write anything else. So let me show you how. I think you know how we create new repository, right? Just give the repository name.
Yes,
Don't change
yes.
anything else. Click on create repository. That's it. And I think for the course of the MAD-1 project, I think it's better you keep your repository in private mode, and then you can make it public after the results are declared. So here, what you can do is you can copy this command to add the remote origin so that Git knows to which repository it has to push. You can also check git remote -v to check the origin that is added. And now let me push it. Git push -u origin name. Just a second. Okay, I think you'll also have to move to the branch main first. Yeah. Yeah. You have to create a branch and move to that branch. So that branch, you can name it as main branch. And yeah. So for the first day, I'll just push everything to the main branch. And then, yeah, instead of creating new branches, I think the best way is so for each commit. So for you to understand the changes, you can go to the commits page. I'll share the repository link with you. And go to the commits page. So this is the commit that I've just made, app initialization. You can go to that commit, and then you can see all the changes that we have made. So this might be a better way because this also shows you the git difference, and you can see the exact difference in the files. You can come back here. You can add the remaining files to the tracking. So this adds this instance, the base template, and the models tracking. You can commit it with database initialize database and models creation. Yes. And then you can write git push to push it to the main branch. All right. I think what we have forgotten is we will have to change the contents of app.py back to normal. Yes, so now this is the second session, app.py, and then this is the Jinja template which I was using for, right. So yeah, I will now add it again, and I will try to commit it, and I'll try to push it. Yes. So now that we are done with the second push, I think you can go back, reload the page, look at the changes, and then you can go to the commits. Just look at the first app initialization and the latest database and models creation. I think you can ignore the middle commit. So this shows you exactly what we have added. We have added the models, and we also have added the templates. And I think what I should not have done is I should have merged the two commits, but yeah, this is also a part of the second change. Yes. Yeah. So this is it for the database initialization and the database setup. I think we can stop this for now. We can also yeah, if you have any questions, we can discuss that. I'll start with the login and sign up functionality and how we can use RBAC and then the CRUD operations in the next class. So this would be it for the basic structure and the database management. I'll put the repository URL inside of our meeting link. Yeah, here. You can use this. And you can also save this and share it with the other people in our bootcamp.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I think everything is clear till here. And I think you also have your quiz uh, on 19th. So
Some
yes, you
days.
have your quiz on 19th. You can prepare for that. You can also, so tomorrow and day after is like an off. Tomorrow is for the preparation and day after is an off for the quiz, the actual quiz. On Monday we can resume and we can also start with the login functionalities and also have some security measures like password hashing, and you can also use all those things. And yeah, I'll also teach how seeding works, how to seed the database before startup. That will also be covered in the next session. So yeah, all the
Okay.
best for your quiz. Do let me know if you have any doubts. You can also text me on GChat or send me an email.
Okay, ma'am. I have one doubt.
Yes,
Like if we are doing some production level project, we'll be creating all branches. But for a MAD-1 project, we don't have to create any branches.
that is true. That is true. That is the primary reason I just changed my idea from creating multiple branches to just using the main branch. I was hoping if we have different branches, you would be able to go to that individual branch and see the changes. But I think this way is better because you can go to the commits and then you can actually check all the changes that I've made based on the commit link. Yeah, that will also show you the code difference with each file. Yes. Yes. Yeah, so this way you can see the code difference and you can have an understanding of what we did. Right. So this is it. If you have any more questions, you can text me. And all the best for your quiz. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.